Good morning. Welcome to Abundant Living Ministries, CyberChurch.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night.
Or see you later, I'm in space. You never know.
If you're in space, please stay and tell us about it. That would be fascinating.
I want to call. Can we go? I want to go.
Space? Yeah. Outer space.
Just for fun.
We could pretend.
That's no fun. I want to actually go.
Who knows? Maybe space travel for the average person will be possible in our lifetime. You never know.
It would be so much fun.
It could be.
No, could be.
Definitely be an adventure. Well, it depends on how it's set up. I mean, you could be.
It can still be.
You could be in a spaceship and see stars and see the moon, and that would be interesting.
It's all fun. All fun.
Anyway, we're glad to be able to meet here with you. We hope you've all had a good week. Or if you're not here, so just listening, you really should get a free Second Life account and come visit us.
And we enjoy all avatars. That means you can be human, animal, fairy, elf, all mystical creature, whatever you want to be. That's the coolest thing about Second Life. You can be whatever you want to be.
Indeed. So for those let me start that again. So for those of you out there listening who have always wished that you could be a flying dragon, you need to join Second Life and fly in here and come see us on Sunday.
That would be so cool. Unless the dragon's bigger than the building, then you might have to be outside the building.
You can be outside and just look in the windows.
But it would still be cool, and I'd come see you after the service.
Yes.
It'll be so much fun. I want to be a dragon now. Thanks, right. Ben. It's all your fault.
You're very welcome. Well, we would just like to take a few minutes to stir up our hearts in gratitude, because there's so many things that we can be thankful for. We can be thankful for the opportunity to come here and meet here together and share a little bit of our lives. We can be thankful for the sunshine, or if it's raining there, for the life, for any good relationships that we have.
Are we going to go through all the things we're thankful for? Because that might take a long time. I mean, like hours and hours.
I'm just talking about the basics.
But it still might be fun.
And then you can come up with things for which you are very thankful.
We should do that around Thanksgiving.
We should do that right now. In fact, we are doing that right now.
I know. I noticed.
All right. So while we play a little bit of music, and we're also going to have an opportunity to give, if you'd like to help support us here, our expenses.
That's for the land.
Yeah, and server expenses and other things. And how do they do that?
If they're in Second Life in the building, we click on the offering plate up at the altar. And if you're not in Second Life, even though you should be, and we already told you why you should be, if you're not, you go to the website, almcyberchurch.org, and there's an offering plate there. You click that, and you give whatever you like.
Yeah. And the main difference is in here, it's in Second Life currency, and there it's actual U.S. dollars. Or whatever currency you use.
It's money. It's real life money.
Yes. Okay.
Okie dokie.
take a moment now to click the pulpit on the stage, and you're going to get a note card, and it has the lyrics of the songs we're about to sing in it, as well as all the notes for the message today. Yes.
Are we doing that new song that I wrote?
You're about to find out.
Hey! Excited.
Okay, let's sing.
Woohoo! Let's go!
Your presence as I sit in silent prayer. I raise my hands in full surrender. Sun is shining, rain is falling, wind is blowing, and I am alive here in your temple, where timeless power flows, and I can feel your breath inside me, pulsing rhythms, life is flowing, joy is rising up, I am of the city to the glow of distant stars. I see your life dance all around me. Sun is shining, rain is falling, wind is blowing, and I am alive higher than your mountains, deeper than your seas, endless as this moment, pulsing rhythms, life is flowing, joy is rising up, I am alive. From the mysterious depths of the dark blue seas to the most distant lands past the galaxies, the moon and the sun and the most distant stars, from the great Milky Way to the unknown afar, wherever our minds can imagine to go, it is there that you dwell like the water and snow. No matter the place where our dreams can abound, it is in that same place that our gods can be found. Not depth, not height, neither angels nor jinns can hide me from your love, for it comes from within. Both heaven and hell are found in the same place, where I drift off to sleep and I dream of your face. In your image we're made, for your image is ours, and that image shines bright and above all else towers. Your voice and your footsteps show us our way home, for when our dreams are with us, we are never alone. a sinner or a saint. We use so many brushes and varieties of paint, but your life is your canvas and it's your own work of art. So don't let others write your song, just sing it from your heart. I know that you're not me, and that's what makes this a beautiful symphony. And if there is evil in this world, it would be forcing my will on you. So love's what I'm going to do. Others might have told you that you're bad for loving someone different from the preferences they have. But your love is your sacred place, it's your own shining star. So don't let others write your song. You are perfect as you are. I know that you're not me, and that's what makes us a beautiful symphony. And if there is evil in this world, it would be forcing my will on you. So love's what I'm going to do. I hope that every word I say to you puts a smile of joy upon your face. For you are beautiful, a brightly shining star. You're a glorious miracle, exactly as you are. Hope you sleep in peace tonight, and I hope that in your dreams you pierce the clouds in flight. And may your sweetest dreams become reality. And don't let others write your song, sing it and be free. I know that you're not me, and that's what makes us a beautiful symphony. And if there's evil in this world, it would be forcing my will on you. So love's what I'm going to do. Love is what I am going to do. Love is what I am going to do. Love is what I am going to do. Love's what I'm going to do.
we are so thankful for today, for the sunshine or the rain, and for this moment in time to just be alive. And we are truly thankful for this time to meet together, to support one another, and to explore how we can live our lives more fully and make this world a better place for everyone to live. Well, you can go ahead and be seated if you're not already. You're probably familiar with the lyrics of a well-known Christmas song that says, "He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake." Of course, we know this is probably not implying that the reason children should be good is for the sake of goodness itself, but rather because if you're naughty, Santa might not bring you any presents except maybe a lump of coal. Now, don't worry, our topic today is not about Saint Nick, and since this is July, it's not about Christmas. And since this is just a long-winded introduction to the message title, you can go back in time and then jump forward in time over the last 2 paragraphs if you wish. And I won't be offended, and I probably won't even know you did it. But I titled our topic For Goodness Sake, and I'd like for us to explore some of the motivations we often have for acting morally and doing good for others. And then we'll end with a challenge. So why do we act in ways we would consider moral, ethical, and altruistic? Do we do things we consider to be good just because they're good, or for goodness sake and goodness sake alone? That would explain why some people are basically moral and benevolent while others disregard the needs and desires of others and seek to please themselves regardless of the cost to those their actions might hurt. But this raises more questions than answers. Why do some people do good because it's good while others do not, if that's the case? Now, some would say it's because of their religious beliefs. The Bible says, for example, "Thou shalt not kill," and that's the reason we don't go around killing people. Well, I hope that's not why you don't spend your free time trying to find places to hide the bodies. After all, millions have been murdered because of the Bible's numerous exceptions to the no-kill directive. There's a Christian group today you've probably heard of who are pushing for the death penalty for homosexuals. And while some argue that the New Testament somehow makes once moral laws from the Bible's God immoral today, that's not the point of this example. Rather, a belief in the Bible, the Quran, or any other religious text does not determine the believer's level of morality or goodwill. Instead, could it be that those who already have tendencies to harm others find support for their violence in their chosen holy book? And could it be that they gravitate toward religions, denominations, or other groups who share their interpretations and tendencies? And you could also ask, could it also be that those who already have tendencies toward altruism and toward morality of some sort find support for their desires in their chosen holy book? Now, of course, this still doesn't answer our question. Why are people like they are in regards to their interactions with others? Well, let's read part of an article by Paul J. Zak in Psychology Today titled, "Why Some People Are Evil," and the link for the full article is in the note card. He writes, "So how do human beings go from good to bad to evil? My experiments have shown that 95% of the thousands of people I have studied release oxytocin when they receive a positive social signal. Oxytocin releasers include having someone trust you with their money, being touched, and even watching an emotional movie. 5% of those I have tested do not release oxytocin after such stimuli. These individuals have many of the traits of psychopaths. They are charming, deceptive, and even self-deceptive. And when there is money that can be shared with others, they unabashedly keep it all for themselves. Greed, you remember, is one of the 7 deadly sins. Knowing the chemistry of morality gives us keen insights into why most of us are good most of the time, and why some people like Hans Reiser are evil. Let's start with evil. Rodents that genetically lack receptors for oxytocin behave like psychopaths. They do whatever they want without regard for others' safety or welfare. They are loners in permanent survival mode. These behaviors also occur for many victims of childhood abuse. The oxytocin circuit in the brain needs nurturing to develop properly. The abuse victims I have studied are also in survival mode and have impaired social behaviors. And he goes on to say, and then there is petty evil. High stress inhibits oxytocin release and makes us temporary psychopaths. We know that we are not our best selves when we are stressed out. Stress narrows one's focus onto oneself, and we cease being socially competent. Actions we call virtuous or moral are those that put another's needs on par or above one's own. Honesty, trustworthiness, compassion, fairness. Oxytocin does this by subtly changing the self-other balance toward caring about another's well-being. My experiments have shown this both by measuring oxytocin release in blood after an act of kindness and by manipulating oxytocin levels in human brains to show that oxytocin directly causes virtuous behaviors. Yes, there is a moral molecule. And he goes on to say, but I have worried lately that the carefully controlled laboratory experiments I have done may not apply to people's daily experiences, so I've taken my lab on the road. We have studied the many ways humans connect and willingly cooperate with each other. Experiments with soldiers marching, a rugby team warming up before a match, and people praying in church showed that these activities cause the brain to release oxytocin. A spike in oxytocin produces a feeling of closeness and a willingness to help others. My field experiments have even taken me to some of the farthest reaches of the earth. I recently traveled to the highlands of Papua New Guinea to study isolated subsistence farmers in the rainforest. Highland people live much like our ancestors did millennia ago. I took blood before and after a ritual dance and found that it caused the release of oxytocin in the majority of the men I tested. The moral molecule appears to be a human universal. The human desire to connect not only with friends and family, but complete strangers is, I have found, what makes us moral. It is our social nature, our need to be around others, that makes us good most of the time. Oxytocin makes us feel what others feel, and this not only motivates us to avoid doing things that hurt others, but actually makes us feel pleasure when we bring others joy. Sneaky evolution. Gregariously social creatures like us need to have an internal moral governor that sustains our place in the social group. Being ostracized from one's group is as maladaptive for humans as it is for wolves. Behaving morally, roughly being nice to others who are nice to us, keeps us ensconced to the warmth and protection of our pack. That's fascinating. But while this gives us some insight into a likely reason for moral and pro-social tendencies, how does this help us? Well, first, it's important to take note of the connection between upbringing and social health. If it is indeed a chemical produced by the brain that helps motivate us to treat others well, and if the oxytocin circuit in children needs nurturing to develop properly, then if we have any interactions with children, especially as caretakers or guardians, it's very important for us to cultivate goodness in ourselves and demonstrate that to them. It is very important for us to put ourselves in their shoes, so to speak, and to cultivate kindness and compassion within ourselves so that we can pass on those traits to them. The author goes on to say that high stress inhibits oxytocin release and makes us temporary psychopaths. Now, you might not have any control over the factors in your life that result in your feeling a high level of stress, but you do have a level of control over how your mind responds to and interprets those things. And this is where meditation can often help. You can take a minute or two throughout your day to take your attention away from all the things going on around you and the thoughts racing through your head, and focus completely on something such as your breath. Feel it going in and feel it going out. Let the tension in your shoulders go, perhaps by doing a few shoulder shrugs and then letting them fall back as you let any slump in your spine straighten out. Now, doing this has been shown to lower the stress levels of those who make this simple meditation a part of their routine. And not only does meditation reduce stress, thus enabling the increased production of oxytocin, but other studies have suggested that meditation itself may produce the chemical. Now, of course, determining what is the cause and what is the effect is a little more involved than that, but it's clear that, whatever the reason, meditation helps. The author also says, experiments with soldiers marching, a rugby team warming up before a march, and people praying in church show that these activities cause the brain to release oxytocin. A spike in oxytocin produces a feeling of closeness and a willingness to help others. Now, there are meditative elements in the marching of the soldiers, the physical warm-up activities of the rugby team, and prayer. So if you find yourself lacking empathy, not treating others with kindness and compassion, and not living in line with a moral code that is based on the well-being of others, those are some things that you could try. You could learn Tai Chi, yoga, dancing, or a form of meditation that draws your interest. And if you can do things like this in a group, that might be even better. It might also be beneficial to cultivate empathy within yourself. From the article 6 Habits of Highly Empathic People on the Berkeley website, we read the following. Empathy is the ability to step into the shoes of another person, aiming to understand their feelings and perspectives, and to use that understanding to guide our actions. That makes it different from kindness or pity. And don't confuse it with the golden rule. As George Bernard Shaw pointed out, do not do unto others as you would have them do unto you. They might have different tastes. Part of empathy is discovering those tastes. The article goes on to explain what they call the 6 habits of highly empathic people. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I encourage you to do so. The link is in the note card. But briefly, here are the 6 points with some excerpts beyond those points that we're going to include here. And we'll probably go into these in detail in the near future. 1. Cultivate curiosity about strangers. Cultivating curiosity requires more than having a brief chat about the weather. Crucially, it tries to understand the world inside the head of the other person. We are confronted by strangers every day, like the heavily tattooed woman who delivers your mail or the new employee who always eats his lunch alone. Set yourself the challenge of having a conversation with one stranger every week. All it requires is courage. 2. Challenge prejudices and discover commonalities. We all have assumptions about others and use collective labels such as Muslim fundamentalist or welfare mom that prevent us from appreciating their individuality. Highly empathic people challenge their own preconceptions and prejudices by searching for what they share with people rather than what divides them. 3. Try another person's life. So you think ice climbing and hang gliding are extreme sports? Then you need to try experimental empathy, the most challenging and potentially rewarding of them all. Highly empathic people expand their empathy by gaining direct experience of other people's lives, putting into practice the Native American proverb, walk a mile in another man's moccasins before you criticize him. 4. Listen hard and open up. Be present with what's really going on within, with the unique feelings and needs that a person is experiencing in that very moment. And make yourself vulnerable. Removing our masks and revealing our feelings to someone is vital for creating a strong empathic bond. 5. Inspire mass action and social change. Just think of the movements against slavery in the 18th and 19th century on both sides of the Atlantic. As journalist Adam Hochschild reminds us, the abolitionists placed their hope not in sacred texts, but in human empathy, doing all they could to get people to understand the very real suffering on the plantations and slave ships. And we should remember that empathy will most likely flower on a collective scale if its seeds are planted in our children. 6. Develop an ambitious imagination. We also need to empathize with people whose beliefs we don't share or who may be enemies in some way. If you are a campaigner on global warming, for instance, it may be worth trying to step into the shoes of oil company executives, understanding their thinking and their motivations if you want to devise effective strategies to shift them toward developing renewable energy. A little of this instrumental empathy, sometimes known as impact anthropology, can go a long way. Empathizing with adversaries is also a route to social tolerance. That was Gandhi's thinking during the conflicts between Muslims and Hindus leading up to Indian independence in 1947, when he declared, "I am a Muslim, and a Hindu, and a Christian, and a Jew." Well, I hope you've heard something today that you can use, and we'll talk about this topic in more depth, so just stay tuned. Now, I realize that we never really implicitly talked about the concept of today's message title, for goodness sake, and whether we do things for others with absolutely no personal benefit. I had intended to point out the ways in which helping others rewards us with feelings of completeness, deep satisfaction, and, well, a release of the pleasure-causing oxytocin. And, well, I guess we did touch on that. But when we help others without seeking a reward, we are rewarded in wonderful ways. And in that way, we train ourselves to help even more. So go and do something good for someone today. Let's end today's service with a time of reflection and perhaps a meditative atmosphere to help us feel that connection to and empathy for the world around us. If you need to talk with someone about an issue you're facing, you're always welcome to instant message one of us or go to almcyberchurch.org and click the Pastor's Offices link and contact us there. Whenever you need to go, you're dismissed, and we hope that you'll hang around for a few minutes and chat with us after the service ends. But for now, let's spend some time letting what we talked about sink in.